Hey, what's going on everyone? Romeo here, a fellow Spanish language learner. In this video, I want to share with you one more resource that I know will help you as you chug along on your Spanish language learning journey. Now, I know that I really recommend the book Complete Spanish Step by Step by Barbara Bregstein, and I absolutely still believe that that is the book that you should start with if you are a complete beginner. But one of the things that proved very difficult for me as I went through the book Complete Spanish Step by Step was grasping the use of pronouns. And I'm not talking about the subject pronouns, yo, tú, él, nosotros. I'm talking about the indirect pronouns, the direct pronouns, the use of reflexive verbs, which includes pronouns, and relative pronouns. The reason why it was so difficult for me, and I still struggle with a little bit, is because in English, we just do not talk like this. In other words, for example, in English, if we want to say, give it to me, that's exactly what we are used to saying, give it to me. But in Spanish, if you want to say that, you have to say, me lo das. And that is a little bit different. The same thing with the reflexive pronouns. We don't have reflexive pronouns in English. And on top of that, we also have a different way to express relative pronouns, which is essentially a way to shortcut our languages. So instead of saying, give it to Romeo, you would say, give it to him. And so what brought this to my attention was the video that I last produced on this channel and released, and it was talking about Español Sí, which is a Destinos-like telenovela. And after I released that video, I started watching it again because I was like, you know what, why not? I have another 30 minutes in my day, so I can start going through the series again. But in the first episode of this series, I recognized so many uses of relative pronouns and direct pronouns, indirect pronouns, all of that just in the first episode of the 76 episodes or 74 episodes that the show has. Let me give you an example. So in the first example, the teacher is going to ask Paul, like, hey, are you talking about Anna, the artist? And he's actually going to use pronouns when he says, he's not going to say, yes, it was Anna. He's going to say, yes, she is the one who gave me your number. Here it is.
Gracias.
¿Y en Madrid? ¿Dónde vives?
Vivo con 3 chicos. Pablo, Ana y Eva.
¿Ana la artista?
Es la que me dio tu número, sí.
Ay, yo la conozco muy bien.
¿Sí?
Es muy bonita, ¿verdad?
Pues sí, bastante bonita.
¿Y la otra chica?
No la conozco.
¿No?
Conozco solo a Pablo y Ana.
Right? And then in the next sentence, she says, ya la conozco muy bien. Her, I know very well. So right off the back in the first 30 seconds of this episode, you already see relative pronouns and you see the use of a direct pronoun. So let's keep going. Okay, so in this short clip, Anna, I believe it's Anna. Anna is going to say, hey, let me show you the room that I'm talking about. She said, I'll show it to you. Here it is.
Sí, tiene muchos colores. Bueno, te enseño la casa. Esta es mi habitación, ven, que te la enseño.
Te la enseño. All right, if we keep going, now they're going to have a conversation about Anna in the rooms that everyone lives in. And if you notice, she's not going to say it is the room of Anna's or it is the room of Ava. She's going to first talk about the room, la habitación, and then she's going to use relative pronouns, the room, with the word la. So here it is.
Qué bonita.
¿Te gusta?
Sí.
Y allá está la de Eva y la de Pablo. Bueno, la tuya.
La mía. ¿Y Pablo?
Duermen en el salón, en el sofá cama. Pero no te preocupes porque es muy cómodo.
All right. La de Eva, la de Pablo, la de tuyo, la mía. All of that is the use of relative pronouns. And there are so many examples just in this first episode. And now that I think about it, in episode 13 of Destinos, there's a moment where the guy says, el que puede saber. And I remember thinking, like, what does that mean the first time I watched Destinos? So you'll come across it. Here's that scene.
Lo siento. Por favor, trate de recordar. Es muy importante.
No, al principio me pareció, pero No, no lo conozco.
Bueno, gracias.
Nada.
Vamos.
Ah, el que puede saber es José.
¿José?
¿Sí?
So first he says, no lo conozco, no, him, I don't know. And then he follows up with the one who knows, or the one who can possibly know, is Jose. So the use of pronouns are everywhere in the Spanish language, and they are quite differently than the way we say things in English. And so if you don't understand why that is being said, or the proper use of relative pronouns, then you may have a hard time with the Spanish language. Now, of course, Complete Spanish Step by Step definitely talks about pronouns. In fact, if you go into chapter 10 is when they first start introducing the indirect object pronouns, the direct object pronouns, and also the reflexive verbs, which uses pronouns. And then in chapter 15, she goes further into talking about the double object pronouns. And then as you get further into the book, as you get to chapter 22, there's an entire chapter dedicated to pronouns, and specifically the relative pronouns and the demonstrative adjectives used as pronouns. And also there's more, right? There's adjectives used as nouns, pronouns used as nouns, and that's one chapter. And it's a good chapter. So for example, right, what we heard in one of the clips was la que me dio tu número. Complete Spanish Step by Step absolutely covers everything you need to know. But here's the thing. If you struggle with this concept, or the concepts of relative pronouns, objects, and direct objects, and you want more practice with those, once you come across that, there's only so many examples and example sentences and example exercises that Complete Spanish Step by Step can give. Therefore, one of the books that I found very helpful to supplement my learning with Complete Spanish Step by Step was this book called Practice Makes Perfect: Spanish Pronouns and Prepositions. It is absolutely a necessity to grasp the way Spanish is spoken so that we as English speakers can adapt and get used to saying things backwards, so to speak. So if we go into the contents of Spanish Pronouns and Prepositions, what we will see is that each chapter is dedicated to a specific pronoun. And that is great because it's not much to know about each pronoun, but what it does is it talks about the pronoun, and after it talks about the pronoun, it gives more examples so that you can practice to make yourself perfect, right? So chapter 1 is subject pronouns, and it's only about 3 or 4 pages, right? Same thing. Chapter 2, it introduces interrogative pronouns. Chapter 3, prepositional pronouns. And then eventually it goes into all the pronouns, right? Possessive pronouns. Complete Spanish Step by Step definitely covers possessive pronouns, right? Mío, mía, tuyo, all of those. But here's an entire chapter that's dedicated to giving the example use of different things that you can say to shorten your Spanish language when you're talking to other people. So again, chapter 5, demonstrative pronouns, chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, all of these are dedicated chapters to helping you understand more when to use a pronoun, what it sounds like when you hear that pronoun in place of a noun, and also what it looks like when you see it in action. So this is absolutely another one of those books that you should have if you find yourself, like me, struggling with the use of pronouns, and specifically the direct object pronouns and the indirect object pronouns, once you realize that you're going to have to speak differently than what you would say in English. Anyway, I wanted to bring this resource to you. Maybe you won't need this resource. Like if you absolutely grasp what is being said in Complete Spanish Step by Step when it comes to pronouns, you're not going to need it. But if you're like me and struggle with pronouns and want to know more about them and want more practice in the use of those pronouns, this is definitely a book that you should check out. So hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, give this video a like. And until next time, as always, good luck on your journey to reach fluency, whatever level of fluency that is for you. Peace.